Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and this is going to be an impromptu video talking about an issue that I see with Ford's current sales process. Before getting the video though, as always, if you're gonna save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below, and well, let's get into the topic of today's video. Now, first off, I'm not just some random Ford hater. I actually really love Ford's product because you guys know I buy a ton of Fords. If you follow the main channel, I still own a Gen 3 Ford Raptor, and so I'm definitely behind them. Like I said, I love what they produce. That being said, I think that there are some things that they need to fix as a company so that they are more user-friendly to the people that purchase their products. So the first thing that Ford's doing wrong, in my personal opinion, is they are not building enough of the vehicles that people want to buy. Right? Everyone is suffering from supply chain constraints. It's not just a Ford thing, right? Everyone is struggling to build vehicles. That being said though, I review a lot of cars and I go to a lot of Ford dealerships, and I'm noticing that Ford dealerships are starting to get inventory of certain vehicles that people aren't buying. And then they have no inventory of the vehicles that people want to buy. And I just don't understand this. I don't understand why Ford is allocating people and time and resources towards building vehicles that people aren't buying. Like right now, nobody's really buying base model F-150s, but I keep seeing those stack up at dealerships and, you know, Ford Explorers and all these other vehicles. Yes, there are people that buy them, but there's more people that want to buy the new Ford F-150 Lightning, the Ford Maverick, the Ford Bronco, the Ford Raptor, the new Bronco Raptor. Like there's all these vehicles that Ford has tons of pre-orders for that people have been waiting forever to get and they can't get. And so again, I know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that, you know, I obviously just probably don't understand as just a regular consumer, but at the same time, I feel like there's something that Ford could do to basically make it so that their factories that are producing these other vehicles that people aren't buying could then produce the vehicles that people are buying, or just something. Again, I know there's a lot that goes, like there's a lot of moving parts and people and all this other stuff. I get it. Manufacturing is not easy. It's a very, very difficult task, but Ford is a massive company. They have a ton of smart people. I'm sure that they could figure out something, and that something, in my opinion, should be, like I said, building vehicles that people actually want to buy. Like there should be no inventory for sale at Ford dealerships right now, frankly. With how hot their product is right now, dealerships should literally just be completely sold out, and they're not. They have cars on the ground, and again, they're cars that people just frankly don't want to buy. And so I think that's something that Ford definitely needs to fix. This point leads directly into the next point, and that is that if Ford could actually start producing the vehicles that people want to purchase, then that would get rid of a lot of these crazy markups you see at dealerships right now. There's crazy markups for literally everything, whether it's a Ford Maverick or a Ford Raptor or an F-150 Lightning. Like if you guys go on social media at all, you'll see tons of posts of all these dealerships that are just asking insane amounts of money for these vehicles. And again, the reason that that's happening, well, part of the reason why that's happening is because Ford is not producing enough of these vehicles. And so if they were to increase production, right, take production away from other models and put those parts and people and all that stuff, like I said, I know there's a lot that goes with it, but if they were to do that and they were to build more of these vehicles so people could actually have their orders fulfilled, then dealerships would not have the ability to charge crazy amounts over MSRP like they are now. They can do that because they can just throw a crazy price on the vehicle and someone's going to want to buy it because people want those cars so bad that they're willing to pay the crazy market premiums just to get them. So if Ford really wants to crack down on dealerships charging over MSRP, they need to just stop slapping dealers on the wrist and saying, no, don't do that. And what they really need to do is produce more vehicles and produce the vehicles that people are actually buying. Stop producing vehicles that people don't want to buy. So the next thing that Ford needs to do is they need to allow dealerships to make more money. I know this sounds crazy because dealership profits have been higher than they have ever been in the past. But the problem is Ford has changed their payment structure to dealerships over the last little bit. So in the past, vehicles used to have quite a bit of markup from invoice to MSRP with Ford models. And so dealerships, if they sold vehicles just at MSRP, they could make a healthy profit. But Ford has basically gotten rid of all of that profit for dealerships. Basically, the difference between what Ford sells vehicles for to dealerships versus MSRP is next to nothing, especially on their hottest models. And so what that's doing to dealerships is it's incentivizing them to charge over MSRP, because they're like, oh, well, I'm not making any profit if I sell at MSRP, so if I sell it over MSRP, then I'll actually be able to make some profit. Now, obviously, Ford paid dealerships in other ways via kickbacks and other incentives and everything, but at the same time, most dealerships have their profit structured off of the fact that they expect to have some wiggle room on the vehicle itself. And since Ford has pretty much gotten rid of that wiggle room, as in, you know, MSRP and invoice are very, very close to each other, then it's incentivizing this dealership thing to charge over MSRP. And so you know, again, I'm sure that there's a reason. There's always a reason why, you know, Ford is doing what they're doing, but at the same time, I don't think it's a good idea. I think they need to stop that as well. So this next thing isn't necessarily a Ford specific thing, but it is something that is plaguing Ford like it is plaguing other manufacturers, and that's just build quality over the last couple of years. It has been absolutely atrocious. Like, there's just so many vehicles that just have build quality issues. And again, this isn't just a Ford thing. You guys know I review new cars all day, and I can just tell you right now, there is a distinct difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID cars. Like, post-COVID cars just have horrible build quality compared to pre-COVID cars. There's just so many issues. Like my brand new Ford Raptor, for example, an $82,000 MSRP truck, okay, has a skid plate that was not molded properly for the truck, and so it doesn't fit properly on the truck. It's pretty ugly looking, and you know, that could potentially damage things down the road. Who knows? But anyways, yeah, it's just a thing that Ford needs to, there needs to be more quality control. And again, this isn't something that is just a Ford thing. This is plaguing all automakers, but it does plague Ford as well, so we are going to mention it in this video. Now, the next thing that Ford needs to do is they need to actually incentivize dealers that do not charge over MSRP for vehicles, as in giving them more allocations. Ford doesn't do that right now. Basically, what Ford does at this point, even though you hear in like the news and all that kind of stuff, they're cracking down on dealers that charge over sticker, is they basically just give dealerships allocations based on how many vehicles they sell. And as long as a Ford dealership is selling a lot of vehicles, and most of their vehicles are basically being ordered and sold to customers within a certain percentage range, I think it's like, as long as like 80, if a dealership stays above like 85% of their ordered vehicles are sold before they hit the lot or something like that, that they will continue to get their allocation amount or potentially get more allocations. And so that doesn't incentivize dealers to not charge over sticker, because there's a lot of dealerships that just happen to be in areas that have a lot of people and have a lot of people with a lot of money that are okay with paying over MSRP for vehicles. And I know that people that are watching this video that work for a dealership are like, well, that's okay. That's just how business works. And yes, I agree with you. But at the same time, I film for a ton of different dealerships, and it's just crazy to me that I will go to a dealership that charges crazy amounts over sticker for vehicles, and they'll have those vehicles sitting on the lot. And then I'll go to another dealership that never charges over MSRP, and they tell me, oh, we can't get allocations. And it's like, wait a second. So you could have sold this vehicle that's sitting at the other dealership at MSRP to one of your customers because you have a list that is like, you know, hundreds of people long on that vehicle, but then this dealership can't sell it because they're charging way over sticker, but then they sell a bunch of other vehicles, and so they're getting more allocation. It's a confusing system, but basically Ford could go in and see if dealerships are charging over MSRP or not. Like, that's a super easy thing for them to see. And if dealers are not charging over MSRP, they should just get more allocations. And then the people that are looking for these vehicles that are generally put over MSRP will find these dealerships, right? Via social media. Like, there's so much connection in today's world that they will find these dealerships, they'll go buy from them, and then it'll be kind of like a, you know, like recirculating a positive feedback loop, basically. And so I think that's what Ford should do, is they should, their whole system right now, again, there's reasons why they have it in place, but at the same time, if they really wanted to crack down on these over MSRP sales, then dealerships that don't charge over MSRP would just simply get more allocations just because they don't charge over MSRP. And so, yeah. Now, that's going to sum things up for today's video. And you know, like I said, obviously there's a lot of moving parts producing vehicles and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's so much that goes into it. It's such a complex system, and so it's not like you can just easily fix something overnight or even over a long period of time. It takes a lot of people, a lot of brain power, right, to be able to fix things. But yeah, there obviously is an issue right now, right? There's a lot of Ford products that aren't getting delivered to customers that want them, and then the customers that are getting those vehicles delivered to them are generally having to pay big price premiums. that just don't make sense, and that's not in line with what the manufacturer wants. And so these are some of my suggestions that I think could potentially work. Again, obviously, if it was, it's always easier said than done, right? So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, and I'll see all of you in the next video.